So I think we kind of need a new intro for this little segment. I mean, what do you think, Justin?
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I like it. It's high energy and stuff, but this is we're kind of like toning it down a little bit for this one, right? It's kind of like a Roy Firestone deal
yeah.
here.
Good luck. Good
But
luck getting the goat to do it again.
I know. Everybody, welcome back to our seventh episode, which has kind of turned into one of my favorite little things that we're doing here now is our coffee with coaches. And we've got a logo now. Thanks to the GOAT, Catherine Ramirez, Kat Ramirez from 22 Photography and Graphics, who's no longer here in the Coastal Bend, who's following her dreams and reaching for the stars with the Frisco Rough Riders, right? And she's got some stuff kind of cooking. So hopefully some bigger things in the future for Kat. Kat, thank you. We appreciate the time you take out for a couple of homers like us. But with us today is not necessarily new, but relatively new coach to the Coastal Bend. It's Tuloso Midway's Chris O'Neill. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing today?
Doing
We're
good.
doing
We're
pretty
doing
good. We're
good.
doing pretty good. We appreciate you taking the time out today. I know you guys are pretty busy, and especially this being a last minute thing. We had reached out to Coach Varial last night, and we kind of made this thing happen very fast. So again, I know you guys are busy. You've got practices going on. 2-a-days are underway. We appreciate you taking the time out.
Absolutely.
So Coach O'Neill is in his third season at TM, and he's been doing a lot of good things over there. Every year he's gotten better and gotten better. Coach, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. This is like my 30th year. I started in West Texas. Randy Allen was my first hire. He was a really good mentor and really set the foundation for what I think is a professional coach. And so I'm really thankful for that. One of the things that I coach every day, I still coach a position. I will always coach a position until I just can't, is that you can take an average athlete and make him into a good football player. And that's what we care about. We care about building young men so they can graduate and go on and do something else. The coaching philosophy is a 4-square life. Everybody is physical, mental, spiritual, and social. And we look at our kids that way. We know, especially in the environment that we're in, that putting people out there that can survive, we don't get to decide whether or not life is hard. It's hard. And you get to decide how hard and how the hard you're going to pick. That's our coaching philosophy. That's what we do for every kid's lives we come into contact with. And that was a really good beginning for me. I really appreciate that.
Well, Coach, you said 30 years, and I want to make sure I heard that right. You said Randy Allen was
Correct.
the first guy who hired you. Randy Allen, Highland Park, Randy Allen.
That is correct.
Second in all-time wins, Randy Allen. Correct.
That is correct.
That's a great mind to get your first start from. Where was that at?
Randy was the head coach at Abilene Cooper.
Okay.
And I was hired at a middle school there at Clack Middle School. And I was talking to one of the coaches that I'm mentoring right now, a guy I brought up from middle school. And I tell him, he goes, well, how did you become a varsity coach? I said, well, we went over there for spring football. And so, the middle school coaches, their job was to go help. And I showed up first day, and the running back coach just said, you got it. He just walked off the field. I was like, what? And the running back, I don't know if you know who he was a kid named Dominique Rhodes, who won a Super Bowl with the Colts.
Wow.
I'm in charge of these guys. I was like, oh, man. I was like, what am I going to do? And I muddled through it. And I'll guarantee you the next day I had a good plan. And that was my expectation. And Randy, I thought, was good at that. I mean, you're going to learn to sink or swim. Now, that's not the way it's done now most of the time, where they just say, this is what you're doing. Now, here we have to mentor a little bit more and kind of give them a why and the progression and that kind of stuff. But when you can do something like that, you have a little bit of confidence when you have something that's new and unusual. And coaching's new and unusual every day. People are different every day. But, yeah, that was my first job.
So that kind of makes sense. That was what, 93, right, roughly?
Yeah, that is correct. I graduated in 92, 93. Yeah, it was. It was fall of 93.
So that's when Abilene Cooper was making their run and ruling 5A back in the day. So
yeah, Randy took over for Gordon Wood and Brown Wood.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay,
he talks about that. That's a tough gig to follow when you're talking about the winningest coach in history. So he came from Brown Wood to Abilene Cooper, and Abilene Cooper hadn't been good since he'd been a player there.
Yeah.
And to be able to watch a professional grow a program, you talking about a conflict about sharing athletes, Abilene High and Abilene Cooper, that's a fight. And they just, cut players out. And But Randy just got better and better. We got to play Odessa Permian, played Mojo, play those guys you talking about. I would consider some of the best football anywhere in the world. The little Southwest Conference in the 90s, which is really, really good.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. That's pretty cool to hear because I had no idea.
Yes, that's a nice little hidden nugget, right, for the day. You know, get that one. That's a good one. I thought the Lou Holtz thing was gonna take the cake. No, that one topped.
I know, man. You're definitely a one-upper with your own stories.
I have a circuitous past, sir. Life is not this. Life is that.
Yeah, that's definitely that. We can attest to that. So going down your resume, you know, as recently. So in '98, you started the program at Westbury Christian, which is in Houston, correct? Yeah. So that's got to be an interesting little piece there, starting up a program from scratch, right?
Absolutely. I went from a middle school football coach to a head varsity football coach. That was the jump. So I was 4 years at Clack Middle School, and now I would say the staff at Abilene Cooper was exceptional. And to this day, I can tell you, I don't know if it gets much better. But you talk about Randy Allen's staff, all professionals, knew what they were doing, knew how to coach, knew how to prepare, knew how to plan, all those things. I mean, even looking back now, obviously, I wish I could have taken in more. But the job of the middle school coach, I did the videoing. And so you get done with your middle school job at 3 o'clock or whatever on Friday, get in your car, drive to Odessa. You're going to video the game, drive back to Abilene Cooper, then physically, an old coach is going to know this, you're going to splice the film together. You had to manually end zone, press box, tight and wide. And that took you till about 9 o'clock the next morning. So you worked from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. You put those little tapes on each coach's desk, and then you went home after they were okay with what you did. And God forbid you mess up one of those tapes because there's no shortcuts or fast stuff. It'll take you another hour to do it. But that kind of meticulous detail is unusual. So when I went from there, at Westbury Christian didn't have a football program. They didn't own a football when I got there. I helped physically construct the locker room. Like I built the lockers with another person. Wow. My first season there, we played 9 varsity games with 19 players. We were 2-7 or whatever it was. The next year, we had 29 players. We went 5-4, and nobody knew what to do as far as like how to win that way. Westbury Christian is a basketball school. We had a couple of first-round NBA draft picks come out of there. Indy Ebby. And I tell kids that I've coached 2 NBA draft picks, had 3 NFL players, 1 Major League Soccer player, and we have 2 Major League Baseball players right now, John DePlantier and Connor Capel. And so being from the Houston area, I've been blessed to be around some really exceptional athletes and some exceptional coaches. And so, from Westbury Christian, I went back to Katy ISD, and I was actually at Katy Taylor for 2 years. I was a special teams coordinator there for 2 years. Then I went to Bel Air, HISD, and I was the offensive coordinator there for 4 years, and I had boys and girls wrestling coach. And the wrestling coach. So have you coached any professional wrestlers that came out of there? Anything else? He was wearing a mask, so you may not want to know if I coached him or not. I don't know. So then you jump over to Katy Seven Lakes, and then you were there for a very long time, 2006 to 2001. And that's correct. You kind of did everything there, right? Did everything. I was at Bel Air for 4 years. I was the offensive coordinator, head boys and girls wrestling coach, and assistant track coach. And so the number of hours was unbelievable. But we made the playoffs there for the first time in 31 years, period. And that was a big deal at Bel Air. We were able to turn a program around. And from there, my family had been in Katy the whole time. And my wife goes, "You can go wherever you want, but I'm not leaving from here." I said, "That's fair enough." We'd already moved we'd moved like 4 or 5 times in 4 or 5 years. And we had three little ones at the time. And so we kind of settled in there in Katy. Katy ISD is a good school, great football, professional. And so I was at Seven Lakes for, 15 years. And anyway, so learned my craft there. I coached wrestling for a while. Then I went to baseball and football and did it all. It was a good program.
You were a head baseball coach for a little bit there, right?
No, I was never the head baseball coach. Never?
Okay. See, we marked that down on our list. We were looking at that. Man, that's
thank you, Ray.
A little little run right there, right? What was it that took you from West Texas back? I know we're kind of backtracking, but all the way out to Westbury. Was it just the opportunity to be a head football coach at the time, or is there something about Houston that made you want to just go over there?
I've got family in Houston. My dad is from Houston. He's always worked in Houston. But yeah, not very many people get to get that kind of an opportunity. That's the whole thing. And when I talk to young coaches and everybody wants to be a head coach, whatever, make sure that's what you want. You need to want to do things that you've never done before. Most people are really, really uncomfortable with change. They don't like change. And so if you say you want to be a head coach, you better say that you want things to be different every day. When I say different, hard. You're going to have to deal with a lot of different choices. And for me, I feel blessed because I've been a head boys and girls wrestling coach, a head football coach, a head track coach, all at the high school level. And those things really prepared me for the athletic director portion of it because the personnel going from kids to adults primarily is a different animal. And being able to negotiate people's personalities is a big deal. You got to motivate people who don't want to be motivated sometimes. And so if you keep at the top of the rung that we're talking about changing kids' lives, because we are. And everybody I know, like I had coaches that saved my life. Had it not been for sports, there's no way I'm here. I played football at a place in Arkansas called Harding Academy. I think last year they won 5 state championships in different sports, football. But anyway, somebody paid for me to go there. My family couldn't afford to do that. And somebody cared enough about me to do that. And I learned how to do things right. I learned how to care more about something than myself. And that you could succeed if you had that kind of support system. And so that's what we do. That's everything I've always wanted to do. So talking about a different path, I played football in Arkansas. I went from Harding Academy. I played college football at Harding University. I was there 2 years. They didn't care for my antics. So I ended up.
Can we explain on that on air, or is that going to have to be something off air?
Just say I enjoyed myself. I played football there, and I made good grades. So I ended up at Abilene Christian, a little less strict Church of Christ school.
Yeah.
I graduated from there, but even on the way to there, I stopped at Howard Payne for a semester and played football there, but I ended up graduating from Abilene Christian. But when you think about a path to success, it is not linear. It is absolutely not linear. And our kids have backgrounds that very few kids, if you're talking about is, they went to this elementary school, middle school. Both my parents were in the house. They always worked. They cooked dinner every night. That just doesn't happen very much. And our lives are chaotic. And when we have something that we can hold on to, you can make it through that stuff. And that's what we're here to do. I want to teach kids how to struggle well. And I've been blessed to have a really, we'll say, difficult life. I don't want to say difficult, but it's challenging. So, well, that prepares me to help other people. That's why I do this. I mean, there's other reasons people want to do it. I'm not doing it for another reason. It's not worth it.
Well, that was kind of Barry Switzer's thing, right? That's how they say Barry Switzer was such a great recruiter, is because he grew up in a tough life. He's got in his book, Bootlegger's Boy, right? I mean, the title alone says the way he grew up, right? And it was a different time back then, but he was able to relate to the poor kids and things like that, and was able as an adult, to kind of relate to the way they grew up in their household and things like that. So yeah, that's a great trait to have. I mean, especially with what you're doing now, especially in today's society, right? Where you've got, grandparents raising kids now, or kids raising kids, so.
Something I've really been blessed about when you talk about going from a country town. Okay, so Searcy's a little town. It's a little Arkansas town. So you're talking about.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
In general, a lower socioeconomic group. So kids who are poor. They have learning disabilities. Their family has not read to them. That's a challenge. Go to West Texas. You have some of that same stuff in Abilene. You got kids that are from the base, some kids that are from Lytle, that are fancier places or whatever. You go to Houston. I worked in HISD. You got kids living over by the Astrodome. It's hard. And so really, I feel grateful that I've seen that many different backgrounds. But I will tell you, kids who are poor, and they don't have a good support system a lot of times. They all want the same thing. They want somebody to care about them and teach them how to live. And they'll gravitate to that, and they need that. I mean, the number of kids who are actually going to play college football. I just did a little research on this at coaching school. there's approximately 1.8 million high school football players. 73,000, I believe that's the right stat, will get some kind of money.
Wow.
That means like $100, maybe what they're talking about. That's all.
Yeah.
So the kids that I have that have graduated from college, man, I love that more than anything.
Man, it's crazy because we didn't even really mean to get into that topic, but we talk about this all the time, me and Jacob, and I was actually talking to a buddy about it yesterday. He was doing some hats for us, and it was the amount of kids, and we're talking about amongst ourselves, personal friends that we watched from junior high up to high school, drop out and fall out of athletics.
Right.
And kind of, that's about 12 years ago now to where we're all kind of at. And you can tell the ones that gravitated away from the athletic association, I mean, it's a way different lifestyle versus the ones that us that, kind of stuck with it and had something to lean on. And I came from a solid family. I was raised by my grandparents, but you do see buddies who struggle. They got split homes, and even more so today, it's pretty common to have a split home. And if you don't, you're almost the rare one. So, you're hitting on it pretty good there with having coaches to lean on for those kids. And I just got done watching the Coach Snoop thing on Netflix, and that's exactly what he does out there in LA. And it's crazy because those kids, you see them, and I mean, we think we have it tough down here. Some of those kids in LA, it's pretty rough going. And I can imagine Houston's the exact same way. So it's really interesting that kind of all tied together. But, man, you're definitely doing it for the right reasons because you are right. It's a very small amount of kids that make it to that next level and even further past that. But, they all have to learn how to live. And, I think it was quoted that, you're going to lose in life. You're going to lose no matter what. It's like how you learn how to lose and how you learn how to win is what really matters at the end of the day. So you got to be able to learn how to lose, but lose in the right way and then rebound from it. And, you're nailing it right there, Coach O'Neill. I like that.
And to piggyback on that, the other part is, life's about adjustments, just like football is. Football is about adjustments. I've got a buddy who hit this on the head 100%. We had a athletic director, our old football coach, Olivero Garza, back in Odom, back in the 90s. That he would stress that a lot. Life is about adjustments. And, Mondo hit that on the head when, he found out his wife had a serious illness, and it's an adjustment in your life. You have to make an adjustment. What are we going to do? Okay, we had this plan. Now we've got to do something else. I mean, football does teach you a lot about life,
That's one of the reasons I like it so much is you can include so many people. And, to me, one of the biggest challenges is teaching kids how to not want to be famous. That's the most fleeting thing you could possibly imagine. Trying to be famous is going to last 2 seconds and you may hate it, but I can teach you how to be consistent. When I was able to go down, one of the kids that played for me at Seven Lakes, his name is Kyle Postma. He played quarterback at the University of Houston. He's one of my favorite examples. I called him up just to see if he would talk to my kids. Kyle was a skinny, tiny freshman. He played as a freshman on the freshman team. I think he might even be on the freshman B team. I can't even remember. He played on the JV as a junior, and I'm not positive he started his senior year. But he came on and he won the job. And, they looked at him. He looked kind of like Opie Taylor, freckle. He doesn't look like a great athlete. Well, he high jumped 6'4", so he must have been an okay athlete.
Yeah.
He went to U of H, and they redshirted him, and he went to Last Chance U. He went to Last Chance U.
Really?
Wow.
I think it was before the show because I'm trying to remember what year. If you look up Kyle Postman, I think he graduated like 18 maybe. Look it up real quick if you can. But anyway.
How do you spell his last name?
And scored, 1 million points. And all he wanted to do was get better. He never let anybody tell him. He didn't complain about not getting started or being started or whatever. And he ended up starting about 12 games at the University of Houston. I mean, he was a Division I full scholarship starter at a Division I school. And I love the kid. And we got to visit not too long ago. Went down there. I know Brett Holgerson real well. I don't know Dana very well. Brett's his brother. He's the strength coach, one of the strength coaches there. And my kids from here got to go see some H-Town kids. They go, "Oh, Coach, these guys are different." Yeah, they are. And so teaching kids how to elevate their expectation. Yeah, there he is. Man, I love that kid. And I think he sells real estate now. He's an amazing kid.
Trinity Valley. That's where he went.
Yeah,
Trinity Valley.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's the cheerleading show that's on Netflix. That's where they filmed that out of. Not trying to knock his football ability by going to a cheerleading show, but you were right. It is a reality show at school that he went to.
I can't remember. But just for them to see a kid, like not one time do I ever remember him complaining that it's not fair that I'm not starting. And in my opinion, he probably should have sooner. He just worked. He just got better. And like I said, I want to say he started like 8 to 12 games or something at U of H or whatever, but he did it. And I saw him, like I said, this summer, and he goes, Coach, I'd play again. He's like 28. I said, well, let's see if we can find you a place. And he looked fantastic. He can windmill dunk a basketball still. I said, well, I'm never going to be able to do that. So,
man, I feel like we're going to do this show a disservice by kind of wheeling back into to talking, because I could listen to your stories for the next 3 hours.
Well, I feel blessed. That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe people don't realize everybody has an interesting story. I totally believe that. I love to listen to people's lives, and most people will tell you, I'm not that interesting. I disagree. Let me hear you for about 5 minutes. And when we do this stuff, guess what happens? People look at each other differently. We're not enemies or whatever. We're struggling. We may have to struggle against each other, but we're still struggling together. You can't have a game without an opponent. And so honor the game, honor each other. Let's see what we can do when we really work hard together.
That's
okay.
Yeah, wow.
We've got a segue one way or the other. So let's use that to segue. Okay. So that was, that's a hell of an experience at Katy and just in your coaching career in general. So let's swing it over to 2001. I think you got here in March. Right?
21.
Did I say 01? I did that again, or I did that
earlier. Me 2001 earlier.
I said 2001. I don't know what it is about that year today. So 2021, right? You take the head.
I think my official day was like April the 26th, I think.
Yeah. So you came in and Justin and I looked at each other, was like, who's this guy? We didn't know. And not to be mean, but Celoso Midway is kind of the forgotten child here. It's like Jan Brady. It's the middle child out here, right? Because you've got Cal Allen over here and you got CCISD over there. What's that?
I'm the middle child.
Okay, so you do have a chip on your shoulder, so it does make sense. Okay, it's all coming together now. I'm kidding, Coach. I'm kidding. I know. So you started here in 21, and you've had that unique situation of the transfer of leadership in the district. Right. So you've got a new superintendent there as well, who wasn't the one that hired you. So that's always a unique situation, right? You're wondering, you're on pins and needles, like, well, maybe, right? This is just me from the outside looking in, right? Just like when we get a new boss, we're like, what's this new boss going to be like? We could tell you some stories about some stuff that's happened in our recent history. But anyway, so you come in 2001 and you guys start off 1-9 and 0-6 your first season. So that was a pretty tough district, right? And it was Cal Allen, Port Lavaca, Calhoun. That's the year Miller went down to 4A that year. And Justin and I had always said, poor TM, if they were to drop down in classification, they would probably make the playoffs.
Probably.
Sure.
Right. So your second year in season, right? 2002 or 2022. See, I did it again. Look at that. 6-5, 3-3 by district finalist. And you hit us with a little nugget earlier. I'm going to let you repeat that nugget about that by district finalist.
Yeah, I believe that's accurate. Like I looked it up to how many times TM in the history of the school has been to the playoffs. I believe this is the 4th time. Only 3 other times in school history. And you can pull it up and check it. I was shocked, like you guys too. I was like, what, really? And I know that Coach Sandahar, the last time I think was 2008 and 2009. I think they went 2 years there, and then there's one other time way back in the 60s. Like I said, you can pull it up and check it, but I think that's accurate.
We pride ourselves on not fact checking stuff, so we're going to go with what you said. So,
yeah.
But what year was that? What year did you give us? Since what? The 4th time since what year was that?
I think 1947.
1947. So that's not even once a decade. That's pretty interesting. So that's saying something, right? I think a couple years before they had a decent finish, but it was, as far as I remember, just like you said, 6-5. That's a pretty good finish for Celoso in our book.
Well, that right there is why me and you both, whenever Coach O'Neill got hired here, it was a little head scratching, because they had kind of came off with was it Miller, right?
Wade Miller.
Wade, right? They had, remember we would watch them like, okay, hey, look, they're progressing. They're gonna break through this year. And then it was like, no, they didn't do it. And it was like, hey, they're right there again. They didn't do it. And then he leaves. It was like they brought Coach O'Neill, and so we are looking to see, okay, where's this guy from? What's his story? We really couldn't find much locally, right? Because y'all came out of Katy Seven Lakes, so me and him are both like, well, dang, what? You just kind of head scratching. And then, we met you last year when we did the helmet sticker thing, and I was thinking in my head, high energy guy, kind of really active out there, and I was like, maybe this is kind of trending in the right direction, because I think at the time last year y'all were playing the La Feria week, and y'all were like 5-1 at the time. 1, 2, 3.
That was a big one. That was a big win. We were losing at halftime. The energy didn't get out, because really what we're coaching is to compete. We can't let things outside that we don't have any control over dictate our effort. Like, I can't control the other team or the officials or the weather, but I can control my effort. And that's what we do here. Because all the stuff out there, we let that affect us way, way, way too much. But when we didn't, we competed well, and our kids learned how to continue on and compete.
Yeah, I mean, look at those 2 losses to Alice and Cal, and those were both 2 really exceptionally well coached and good teams last year. They really were solid teams. Cal lost to the eventual state finalist Bernie. Alice got beat by a very solid Port Lavaca team, but they got a lot of talent on the field, whether their record shows it or not. Alice is a weird situation, but they are, right. It's like,
yeah, it's weird. We could never put our finger on it, right? That those Alice teams were, I don't know, dare you say underperformed, right? But yeah, so and then you ended the season with the 42-20 loss to Pleasanton, which came off and ripped off a few wins in the playoffs after that. So I mean, it's not knocking you guys. That was a very good Pleasanton team.
But I know I don't even have to ask, right? Because I can already tell why, and I kind of know why. But how was it for you to get these kids to buy into what you're selling when you got here?
Well, the number one thing is that we could control our destiny, right? And that's when you're talking about a culture who's not used to winning. So you listen to everybody who has literally no control over you unless you let them, and that's what happened. You're not very good. You don't compete very well. So you know what? You got to store up wins. You store up success by how you work. It's not a secret. Being good is not a secret. I tell the kids that every day. Every day is game day. Every freaking day. And if you do it, if you think of it in a different light, you're going to lose. You're going to miss out on the chance to win, because you're winning on Friday today or you're not. We don't get to go back and prepare. And so we got them to do that. We got them in the freaking break room. We got kids out for some other sports. That was really, really exceptional. I was really blessed and thankful. We had a kid who came from baseball, who hadn't played baseball since the 8th grade. He started for us almost all year. Coach Moody's son had never played a varsity football game as a quarterback.
Wow, I didn't know
that year. And he just was coachable. Hey, that guy's there, throw it there. Awesome. And he did. And that's what happened.
He was great. And he had a very good season. He was up for a Player of the Week award a couple times.
Absolutely. And our kids said, oh, you mean if I do things right, success is the outcome? Yes. You don't think about winning a race. You think about working. You think about the start. You think about the preparation. And that's part of what the social media stuff does, is that I can go A, X, Y, B on my controller and I win. But that's not what happens for real. What happens for real is I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I go to practice and I do it again. I stack success on top of success. I stack work on top of work. And it happens. Work's not a dirty word. Teaching kids how to struggle is maybe one of the best things I think we do. You're going to struggle. Learn how to struggle well. Learn how to struggle together. You go from me to we to team to TN Nation. And that's one of the things that we're trying to get together. And it's hard. All you need is a freaking cell phone to be selfish. We know it. The algorithms, we know exactly what they do. It's not a secret. Your job is to get you to do this every day. And if you do, the ratio is something like It's like 30 touches to the dollar or something like that. But it's an attention economy. Where's their attention going? Our attention has to be on the team. And we'll improve. What that equates to, I don't know. But we're going to compete. And the kids need to be able to do that. And that's what we're trying to do.
So that's a great first 2 seasons to build on, right? So let's talk about this last off season. So let's take off your head football coach hat for a little bit. Let's put your athletic director hat on,
Okay.
right? And I think people forget about this because a lot of the focus in when it comes to high school sports is football. Let's be honest, right? But you guys had a very successful offseason as an athletic program. Baseball team made the playoffs, had a pretty deep run. The softball team made a pretty good run in the playoffs. You had a state finalist in Jaden McCoy who placed silver in the long jump.
Correct.
And the boys basketball made the playoffs, and I think Coach Garcia had his 100th win.
Yes, sir.
And the girls team, I think the girls always has a strong basketball program. I didn't have time to look that up, but I'm pretty sure they made the playoffs.
They qualified. I think they just made the first round. They were really young, but yeah, they did make the playoffs also.
Teams, girls soccer and basketball normally always come correct for the most part.
Swim team got second in the state, our swim team. One of the ones that I'm really, really proud of, the boys soccer team, I'm not positive. I don't think they'd won a district game in more than 5 years. And this last year, I believe they won 5 district games.
Wow.
We put some attention into it. I mean, the deal is we want an athletic program. We added another weight room that will go in about a month on the other side of the building. The football field course got turf, got a new track, new scoreboard. The gym's got a new scoreboard. And the whole thing is we want to create athletes, not football athletes or just basketball athletes. And we've installed Feed the Cats and Movement Over Maxes. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but TCU is really one of the forerunners of that. When you watch TCU play Michigan, those cats are fast. I mean, TCU is a school of 12,000 kids, and Michigan, 75,000? And when that dude picked that ball off, no one was catching him because they invest in speed. E equals MC squared. If you are fast, you are heavier than somebody else. That's why somebody who's explosive can win against a guy who's bigger than him. I don't think we played anybody except maybe one team that we were bigger than. But our kids were faster. And we do top end speed. That's what we do. We're explosive. We feed the cats. I think that's made a big difference. I think every kid in the program, period, who's gone through our feed the cats is faster. I think every one of them. And that's pretty unusual.
So y'all call feed the cats. Feed the cats. Yes,
feed the cats. It's Holler is the name of the guy who does it. And a lot of people do it, but it just talks about that you need to touch your max velocity every week. Even during the season, it's a different animal. I mean, jogging a mile, just if you think about that as a football player or a basketball, what does that equate to? What does jogging a mile do? I don't know. It'll get you a little bit.
Says you can run a mile.
A little leaner.
Says you can run a mile, right? I mean,
lose muscle.
It's not a great measurement tool as far as unless you're running the mile in an athletic event.
Thank you. So we want to be explosive. Be explosive. And you want to be explosive over and over and over. And our volleyball team, they sent all their kids to strength and conditioning camp. And those kids did movement over maxes and feed the cats. Movement over maxes is talking about that you hinge completely, that you explode completely. And you can watch it. There's very few things that you can do. One of the big things we did when we got here is we measure everything, because a kid will tell you he's working hard and we say, I don't think you are. Let's find out. Well, you ran 19 miles an hour yesterday and now you're running 18 miles an hour. Are you tired or are you not trying as hard? Well, if a kid doesn't know, we literally have to teach them how to work hard. And maybe when we grew up, you went outside and you just played hard because your buddies played hard, but you have to measure what they're doing or they're not going to know that they're working hard.
You can't disagree with that. I mean, it's proven, right? It's proven.
It is.
Yeah, it's science.
Where did you pick that? Where did you pick all that methods up? Where'd you get that from?
A lifetime of paying attention. Honestly, one of the things I've been really blessed to. You talked about me coming out of nowhere. I was able to work with a bunch of head coaches. One of the things that I did that most people wouldn't do. I was the interim head coach at Seven Lakes for a while, and when they brought in the new head coach, usually they're going to fire you. And I met with him and we talked for a long time, and he ended up, instead of firing me, he ended up putting me in a place where I was able to do everything he did. I volunteered to go to freaking budget meetings. Nobody wants to do that. And everybody who says they want to be in charge is not true. You like the idea of being in charge. You like the idea of loopholes. That dude works hard. And so I went to those budget meetings and like talking about master schedule. Master schedule is the most convoluted thing you could possibly imagine. Because once you make one change, you make 35 other changes. You got to see how it affects the change. And so I was blessed that I had a grandfather. My grandfather was the principal at Ray High School. That's my connection to Corpus.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so we're lifetime educators. You have to learn, and it's being still and paying attention is a skill that is derelict, I would say. And if you can do that, God, you can learn so much. You can change what you're doing. You need to be able to do that, and you need to be able to have the courage to try and screw up. That's it. That's what I did.
Shut up in color. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's the gist of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in the service and they told us that a lot, shut up in color.
Really?
Because you're learning something, I mean, that's what it is. And it works.
Yeah.
It works.
I love it.
So for those of you guys who couldn't see, who are tuned into the audio portion of this. So we had just pulled up, some of the facilities that Coach was talking about here a little bit. So the biggest one, I guess, is the crown jewel here is the football stadium.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Right. So you got a whole new press box here, brand new turf. They just relayed a new track. You guys also have, which I couldn't find, I don't think there's pictures of it yet, some experimental lighting that Hellas is trying out for you guys as well, right? Some color changing lights and stuff. Or
the bottom row of the lights is supposedly it's color, and I've seen it, but I think it's going to be able to like change colors as you do stuff.
Yeah.
The scoreboard is really, really cool.
I couldn't find one of those, but that's over here in this section over here, right? I couldn't find a picture of that one, which was installed last year. So that was there last year, right?
They had it put in right before the homecoming game, and that was our biggest win ever.
Yeah.
It was electric. And when people don't, when you can feel the energy of your community that really, really wants you to be successful, because I can tell you when I got a lot of people didn't want them to be successful. And they didn't have any concern about whether it bothered kids or didn't. But that night, you could see the community, the student body in particular, proud of our effort. That's what I want our kids to do. I don't want them thinking about winning. I want them to be proud of their effort. And when you can really, really sell out for each other, you're going to be okay. You're going to have chances.
Man, that's, I think it's crazy too that I don't think people realize that, when a school has a good, sound football program, normally everything else follows. And when the student section is getting big and people are supporting that, and you got the people coming out of the houses to come to the games and get behind you, everything else around that school starts to have a lot more success.
Absolutely.
And people start to take note, right? And then people want to be involved in that success. And then it's contagious. It continues. And that's why you see programs around here that are continually successful have that, is because they've had this tradition, if you will, forever. And I think that's something that I feel like y'all have going in the right direction for you. And there's a lot. I went to games at TM whenever Portland played them, and I couldn't have never fathomed some of the stuff y'all had the last couple of years. And it's cool to kind of see it starting to take place over there, because it is a forgotten little area, and it's neat to say, you got to experience having some of that electricity in the building, right, whenever y'all are playing that homecoming game. And that scoreboard's sweet, man. It's little things like that, right? A lot of people will make like little, out of their side of their mouth comments about scoreboard. Oh, they don't need scoreboards like that because other schools
not going to put any points on it. They're not going to put any points on it. They don't need it.
You don't realize, though, kids buy into that type of stuff nowadays. Kids love it. Kids love turf. It is what it is. Like, I coach baseball on the side right now, and we went to a tournament the other day, and it was on a old school traditional baseball field. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, God, I miss the turf that we play on normally. Right. And I grew up playing on those fields. Right. So I can only imagine what my kids was thinking. And it's just something to see, 2023, and we have all this new technology, and, it's just the way you use it and the kids, this generation, how they buy into it, and it seems like y'all are in that right direction. It's just really cool.
Well, one of the things when I got here, I had one non-negotiable. I said that you cannot, if you're not going to redo this weight room, that there's no reason for me to come here. And that was really the only one that I said. I said, you can't tell me that you care. Yes, you can't. And they did. They put in a new weight room, and it's kind of the center for everything grew from. Our athletes went from, particularly football athletes, from not very athletic, tough, or strong to improving in every level. And that was one of the things I wanted to do when putting in the other weight room over by the gym. It's tying in our campus. We want our athletes to be fast and strong, not a sport. We want the community to be able to grow their kids. We put in pre-athletics a year ago. We want the profile of a TM kid. When they come in, they're going to leave at this level. Whatever it is, whatever God-given talent they are, they're going to max that out, and they're going to celebrate what God gave them and how we came together. And we can do that. I can look at a little kid and say, it's interesting that a kid that's 3 to 5 years old can do a full squat. But I got a ninth grader who can't do a half a squat. They're stiff and they can't bend. And so that matters. It's healthy for them to be able to bend in the ninth grade.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that, and that's a good segue to where I want to go now. So you're talking about the youth out there, and another thing that you guys are doing is you guys are starting your own youth football program out in that area, right? They're not having to go to Cal Allen anymore. So this was a picture from, I think, a couple of weeks back where you're getting that where everybody talks about program alignment.
Yes.
Right. So you're starting that alignment there at the youth level. So this is a picture of the new youth football coaches for the area in the Annaville area.
Yes, sir.
And normally I think it was Northwest Football League, and they'd all jump into the Cal Allen teams, right? Which were all led by Cal Allen folks. And now it's essentially you guys are drawing a line in the sand, right? And no more.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not trying to steal kids from somewhere else.
I'm trying to keep them home.
Family. I'm taking care of my kids, and no one's taking care of the TM kids. They're just, like you said, they were forgotten, and that's not right. Everybody deserves their family to fight for them, and that's what we're doing. And like Steve Campbell and I have a really good relationship. Steve Campbell is one of my grandfather's students, by the way. So is Brenda Marshall.
Wow. Okay.
I don't go very far with it. My granddad was the principal at Ray High School until 1987. Anyway, there's quite a few people that I was like, oh, your grandfather was Dr. Norman? I said, yes, sir. And they go, anyway, several.
Yeah.
Anyway. But they deserve somebody who's going to put them first. And that's coaches. Kids don't get to pick their coaches. They deserve our best effort. And I talk about that all the time with my staff. I've been able to hire quite a few people into here. Whether you like coaching or don't like coaching, that kid doesn't get to pick his coach. So they deserve your best effort. And that's all I'm talking about. Love those kids the same way you want somebody to take care of your kids. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're trying to do. The Little League thing, we don't have stuff. TM has their own youth league that's separate and apart. And we do that with flag football and basketball. This Little League youth league is run by somebody in the community, but I went and watched a youth game in Mathis, and there's like 5 Cal Allen teams with 4 TM kids here and 4 TM kids here and 4 TM kids here, and those are little leagues. And if any of the TM kids were good, they started them and made sure they found a way to get to Cal Allen. If they weren't very good, they got their one play. And I don't hold that against the Little League teams at all. I'm just saying, who's fighting for my kids? And so that's what it's about. It's about supporting our kids. The other thing, when we talk about our program principles, 4 Square Life I already shared with you. But the 4 pillars that I use is integrity, intensity, interaction, and initiative. When we go into something, every kid has to know why they're doing something. So intention is always the first. If I ask a kid why you're in the weight room and they say, Coach, because you told me to be here. No, sir, that's not why you're here. You're here to improve yourself. When I say intensity, what kind of energy are you using in here? If you're supposed to be quiet and paying attention, that's good. That's your intensity. It needs you to be hyped because it's a homecoming game. That's also correct. That's what we want to do. And interaction talks about the team part. And we put this up and we talk about this kind of stuff. If a kid can't verbalize why they're doing what they're doing, they're going to tell you, I don't know. So when a storm comes, I'm going to say, well, how are you going to get out of this? I don't know. And it's like dropping a kid in the ocean and saying swim, as opposed to putting them in a swimming pool and say, there's the edge, right? There's my anchor. There's some place I can go to get better. And that's what we teach our kids to do. And that's what we're doing. We are training kids up in the way they should go. We talk about like the athletic department theme is to train each athlete up in the way they should go. So they don't just survive, but they thrive in a changing, complex world. Now that seems kind of long, but the bottom line is we're teaching them how to struggle well. So when things get hard, they don't melt down. Life's going to be hard. You know, when you have divorce, not funny. Death's not funny. That stuff needs you. And I'm sure you guys all have great examples. One of the things I taught psychology for years at Seven Lakes, and I'll ask my students, tell me somebody that you respect well, that you love, and you have anything in them. The kids will wait for a second. They'll say, my grandfather, my grandmother, or my mom or dad. And I'll say, how come? And my example is, well, my mom. I had a single mom. She raised 3 kids. She worked at a car wash and went to college. I respect her because she did hard things for people she loved. There you go. That's what we strive for. And that's what we're going to keep striving for.
So again, it's like you're perfect at this. It leads us to our next segue, right? You're talking about what you're building. So let's look ahead, right? The 2023 season. So you've got 25 returning lettermen. You lost 20. You've got 7 coming back on offense and 5 coming back on defense. That's pretty good numbers.
I'm going to tell you what, I am very, very thankful, and I want to be just as clear as I can of my staff. Coach V is amazing. Coach Talbert is amazing. These are men who love kids and they love God. And we are working together to do something special. And if it's wins, great. But we're going to create or give kids the opportunity to have confidence in the storm. And we're plugging kids in. And our numbers have grown immensely. But, you know, when you're in a great program, you can plug a kid in if someone's hurt and not go, oh, God, I can't believe we've got to put him in the game. We don't have that. We have kids that aren't worried about their stats. They're worried about the team. But, yeah, defensively, we should be pretty solid as far as numbers of returners back.
You mentioned it already, and it's one of the things I didn't get to hit on. You know, the offseason, you made some pretty good hires in the offseason. You know, you lost Coach Hawks, who we think is a very good defensive coordinator, but you replaced him with a very good one in Coach Varial, you know, who's the co-defensive coordinator at Veterans and the defensive line coach, and he's put a couple of defensive linemen to college. You know, so and he's all in. He's very energetic. He's high motor, and he's young. You know, so I mean, he can relate to those guys, and from what I'm seeing, you know, everybody's buying in.
He's not that young. He's just young.
The only knock on I have him is that he's from Sitten. Sorry, guys, I'm an older guy. That's just how it works. Okay. But you know, we're expecting some pretty big things from you guys this year. You know, you made the playoffs. You checked that one off the list. Now it's time to climb the ladder some more. Absolutely. Right. I mean, where do you build from here? And it sounds like you guys are building a foundation, right? It's just like a house, right? You've got to have that strong foundation and have that house be successful and last all these years, you know, and you guys are doing that right now.
When you're not worried about the outcome, and that is incredibly hard to do. You're not worried about wins. I mean, the bottom line is you can't push a plow looking behind you. Everybody knows that. I can't be worrying about something else when I got work in front of me. That's the only work that matters. You know, we're pushing forward. Every time I do something, I go to the next thing. And that kind of repetitive stacking wins on top of wins, that's how you succeed. I just can't hope and wish and talk about winning without the work. And we try to do that. And it is hard. You talk about distractions. You talk about people talking about them and they care about other people's opinions. If they care more about their teammates and what we think about each other, we're going to be okay. Like it's always been that way. I was also blessed. I told you I went to Harding Academy, and the head coach there, I mean, I think we lost 4 games the entire time I was in high school. Wow. Very, very strict, very, very disciplined, 2 back, you know, pro set, run the ball, get up by 7 and win by 3, whatever. Yeah. But they were disciplined. and you were not going to do something to disappoint your teammate. There was just none of that. The school I went to, if you got a C in conduct, you didn't play for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Whoa.
I know.
That's tough. That is tough.
Yeah.
That's hard, especially if you're a talker.
Oh, big time.
I was on the front of every class.
So I'm guessing the shenanigans you talked about earlier weren't there in high school. I'm guessing, right?
I
That
don't
developed
see
late in life. Is that what that was?
Yeah, I got through high school, and then
And man, it was built up, right? You know what I mean? It was all built up in there.
So that pent up energy, right, and finally
Yep.
get released them into the wild.
Your son.
animal. College is a good animal.
Well, Coach, we've I think we've taken up enough of your time, but man,
Yeah.
like I said, I could sit here and listen to you for hours, just
sure.
hearing your
I'd
stories.
like to go back to the Randy Allen tree. I want to hear more about that Randy Allen
Oh
tree.
yeah, definitely. We're gonna have to save that for another show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's a nugget of a big nugget that I'd like to pry into as well.
I'd like to see where that staff went. You know what I mean?
Yeah, from where they're at now, right? The Randy Allen tree, just like you said. Yeah, that'd be pretty neat. We may have to follow up on that. Maybe do a
Well, I
special
was the
thing
head
on that.
baseball coach there, and his son is the head baseball coach at CC. Didn't he over here at Corpus Christi? Who's that
Where?
baseball coach at Corpus Christi A&M?
Oh, is that his son?
Yes, I believe so.
I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure. I've never really paid
He
attention.
was the head baseball coach at Abilene Cooper when Randy got hired. So yeah, I think that's Andy's dad. I think
Wow.
so this is the son. So
Huh.
the tree is, but you're right about the tree. It is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, you know it is.
Yeah.
You're part of it. We had no idea.
Yeah. Not a clue.
Well, I appreciate what you guys are doing. And anytime we have a chance to highlight what coaches do in a positive way, I want to do that. And if a coach needs help or the fraternity needs help, we need to do that because kids just don't have enough good role models. We have to be there for them.
Not enough at all.
Yeah.
They'll be back.
Yeah. They'll be back next. Hopefully we'll be able to be out there again to deliver a couple more this season. And you'll allow your guys to wear them again like you did last year. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But Coach, again, thanks for coming on. We know you're busy. We've taken up a lot more of the time than we expected to. But again, it was a joy. It was definitely
Thank
a
you
joy.
guys very much. Keep doing what you're doing and promoting all the good things about athletics.
We're trying to do what we can, Coach. We appreciate it. Guys like you, it's not going to be hard.
All right.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Coach.
I appreciate it.
We'll check in as the season goes on.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Guys, thanks for tuning in again. And we'll see you at our next show. We've got a couple more lined up that should be pretty interesting. We'll see you next time.